Hello and welcome to Outsiders Weather and the Skeptics Ice Age Watch, where the Norwegian government admitted two things this week. Firstly, that the Norwegian lockdown was not necessary. A Norwegian government report concludes that the COVID-19 virus was never spreading as fast as had been feared and was already on the way out when the lockdown was ordered. Secondly, the Norwegian government has admitted that this past winter was Norway's snowiest for over 60 years. According to official government data, you have to go all the way back to 1958 to find a winter with more snow than 2020. Heidi Becky Stranden of the Norges Vassdragets og Energy Directorate admitted we are seeing more than 3 times as much snow as usual in many places. Where it's usually 1 metre, it's 3 metres today. Compared to last year, it is like night and day. Pierre Odd Glesnes from Zognal Ski Centre in Hodlevka said, "Never before have we been able to be open as long as we have this year." To which his friend, whose name unfortunately I do not have, responded, "There are still absurd amounts of snow in the mountains right now." Indeed, this snow depth map for May 19th reveals the absurd levels observed this year compared to last year, which was a lot less absurd. Meanwhile, over in Great Britain, something very strange has been spotted last week.
But it's kind of like a mass that keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yes, a polar blast arrived last week, described by seasoned forecasters in the UK as a 1,500-mile wide cool blob covering the Atlantic and much of Europe. And some suggest it could last all summer. How scary is that? Weirdly, seeing as the planet is supposedly heating up, last week here in Australia, we also had the coldest May Day on record, according to the Bureau of Meteorology. Perhaps the bomb have found their own blob, the May Day blob.
Mob hysteria sweeps one city. Before long, the nation, and then the world could fall before the blood-curdling threat of the blob.
Starring Steve McQueen and a cast of exciting young people.
But isn't it funny how these things are reported by our climate change-obsessed media? Here's just one typical report in Australia. Looking back at autumn, the BOM has released preliminary data that showed much of northern and western Australia had a warmer than average season. Oh, okay. Fine, I won't bother reading on then. Oh, but hang on, if I do. Next sentence, albeit. Albeit? Most millennials wouldn't even know the faintest idea what that means, so they'll stop reading. Albeit, says the BOM, interspersed with periods of very cold weather. Read on a little bit more. Most of southeastern Australia, i.e. where everybody lives, has had a cooler than average season. So shouldn't the story have actually been reported the other way round? But back to Norway, and No Trick Zone reported this week that a study site northeast of Svalbard reveals today's sea surface temperatures are at least 4 degrees Celsius colder than they were only 4,100 years ago, when the Arctic was sea ice free for all but a couple of months every year. That's right, Arctic waters were 4 degrees warmer only 4,000 years ago. That would be around the time when the great stone palaces at Knossos were built, which not only had the first indoor plumbing, but were especially designed to keep the temperature as cool as possible. I wonder why. And at the very same time, the Babylonians invented a mathematical system based on units of 60 and divided the circle into 360 degrees. I mean, why on earth did they waste their time studying stuff like that when they should clearly have been teaching their kids about catastrophic global warming and the rising rivers of Babylon?
By the rivers of there we sat down.
That's it for Outsiders Weather and The Skeptics Ice Age Watch.